Think you've seen everything in The Simpsons after 35 seasons? Well, guess what, you've been missing some mind-blowing details hiding in plain sight. Today, we're uncovering the secrets the creators slipped right under our noses, clues, Easter eggs, and mysteries even the biggest fans have overlooked. By the end of this video, you'll see The Simpsons like you never have before. The Simpsons isn't just a cartoon. It's a cultural phenomenon, a timeline of satire, humor, and sometimes eerie predictions that have spanned more than 3 decades. But beneath the jokes and bright yellow characters, the creators have left behind cryptic clues, inside jokes, and hidden messages that most fans never catch. In this video, we're going to peel back the layers of Springfield and reveal the secrets hiding behind the laughter. You know, there's something fascinating about The Simpsons that goes way beyond the funny gags and clever one-liners. It's the kind of show you can watch 100 times and somehow you still miss things. I'm talking about the hidden Easter eggs, the tiny details the creators tucked away in the background. The kind of stuff you only notice if you pause the screen or watch an episode for the 10th time. And trust me, after 35 seasons, there are more secrets in Springfield than you can imagine. Today, we're peeling back the layers on some of the most incredible hidden details that even hardcore fans often miss, and it all starts with the things hiding in plain sight. Let us start with one of the oldest running gags that I santee really a gag at all, it is a clue. Have you ever noticed how Maggie's price at the supermarket scanner in the opening sequence changes? Every time the cashier scans Maggie, the price flashes for just a second. In the early episodes, it was set to the cost of raising a baby in 1989. Later on, it changed to $847.63, and even that number wasn't random. It was the average monthly cost of raising a child in America at the time. So while most of us were laughing at Homer struggling with his seatbelt or Bart's chalkboard lines, the creators were quietly slipping in real-world data into the opening credits of a cartoon. It makes you wonder how many of these background details were actually social commentary hiding in the guise of a joke. And then there's the stuff you only see if you re the kind of fan who freezes the frame. Like the names on Moe's Tavern's back wall. Over the years, the bar has been filled with regulars, some of whom don't even get lines, but the names scribbled on signs. Beer labels and even dartboards often reference old episodes, obscure celebrities, or even crew members. It's like the writers left little signatures behind for eagle-eyed viewers to find, almost like Springfield itself is a scrapbook of its own history. One of my personal favorites is how the show plays with time without ever mentioning it. Springfield never ages, right? Bart is always 10, Lisa is always 8, Maggie never speaks. But if you look closely at some episodes, the background calendars and newspapers sometimes show actual years passing by 1995. 2001, 2012 almost, as if the creators are teasing us with the idea that this frozen in-time town exists in multiple timelines at once. It's a detail so quick and subtle that most people miss it completely. But once you see it, it changes how you think about the show's entire world. The couch gags alone could fill an entire video of Easter eggs. Some of them are just random and absurd, but others are references to famous movies, historical events, even predictions of future episodes. There's one where the family rushes in to find dozens of clones of themselves already sitting on the couch. Years later, that idea turned into a full Halloween segment about Homer cloning himself endlessly. It's like the opening sequence was a testing ground for bigger ideas that would come back in ways nobody expected. And how about the background signs across Springfield? The writers use them like a secret language. Stores change names constantly depending on the joke. A simple billboard in the background might carry a pun, a political joke, or even a prediction. Like the time a sign read, "Vote for Sideshow Bob," years before the character actually ran for mayor in a later episode. Were they planning it all along, or do the writers just like messing with us? Either way, the attention to detail is insane. Even Krusty the Clown's merchandise hides little clues. Look closely at his posters or cereal boxes in the background and you'll notice fake slogans like, "Now with 20% more asbestos." Or, "Krusty brand fun, not responsible for injuries." It's dark humor, sure, but it's also world building at its finest. The Simpsons universe feels alive because the writers packed it with tiny details like this, rewarding viewers who pay attention instead of just casually watching. Then there are the self-referential Easter eggs, the ones that break the fourth wall without you even realizing it. Characters will walk past TV screens showing old episodes of the Itchy and Scratchy Show, and sometimes those cartoons inside the cartoon foreshadow the main plot of the episode you're watching. It's almost like the creators built a show within a show that comments on itself while we're busy laughing at the surface-level jokes. And for the really hardcore fans, the animation cells themselves hide treasures. Back in the pre-digital days, some animators snuck in their initials or tiny doodles into background scenes. They never made it into the scripts. They weren't planned jokes, just little signatures left behind by the artists who built Springfield frame by frame. Most viewers will never notice them, but the people who do get this weird sense that they've discovered a secret handshake shared between the creators and the audience. If you've been watching The Simpsons for years, you probably think you know the characters inside and out. Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, Maggie, they feel like family at this point. But what if I told you there are secret connections between characters that have been hiding in plain sight for decades? Threads woven so subtly through the episodes that most fans never notice them? The writers and animators have been playing a long game, sprinkling hints and overlaps that only start to make sense when you really pay attention. It is almost like there's a secret Springfield universe quietly running underneath the one we think we know. Take, for example, Hans Moleman. Everyone laughs at Moleman. He's the ultimate background character, the unlucky guy who always seems to suffer the most ridiculous accidents. But did you know that in several episodes there are clues suggesting Hans Moleman might be much older and maybe even more important than anyone realizes? In one episode, he's seen with a driver's license claiming he's over 80 years old. In another, he hints at living through historical events that happened decades before the timeline of the show. He even claims at one point that he is only 31 years old but just looks old because of drinking. It's confusing, right? But when you piece it all together, it feels like the writers left a mystery there on purpose, as if Moleman has lived a secret life we only get tiny glimpses of through throwaway jokes. Then there's the bizarre connection between Principal Skinner and the rest of the town. We all know the famous Armin Tamarian episode, where we find out Skinner isn't really Seymour Skinner at all. But what's wild is how many times before and after that reveal the show hints at Skinner's double life, his complicated relationship with his mother, and even his strange interactions with shady government figures. Some fans think Skinner has secret ties to the military-industrial complex in Springfield, especially since he's often seen in situations involving the army, planes, or covert operations. It makes you wonder if the real Skinner or even the fake one has connections way deeper than a simple school principal should. Speaking of double lives, let's talk about Krusty the Clown and Homer Simpson. This one has been staring fans in the face since season 1. Ever notice how Krusty and Homer look almost identical except for the clown makeup and the hair? That was no accident. In the early development of the show, the writers actually planned for Krusty to secretly be Homer in disguise, living a second life as a celebrity while his family never knew. They eventually dropped the storyline, but the character design stayed the same, leaving behind this weird connection where Homer's doppelganger just happens to be the most famous entertainer in Springfield. And in a few episodes, they even play with the idea Bart worshipping Krusty while constantly disrespecting his own dad, never realizing they were supposed to be the same person. It's a secret link baked right into the DNA of the show. But maybe the strangest connection of all involves Maggie Simpson. Most people think of her as just the pacifier-sucking baby who never grows up. But if you look closely, Maggie is constantly connected to major events in the series. She's the one who famously shot Mr. Burns, of course, but beyond that, she keeps popping up in moments where huge things happen. Sometimes she's just in the background holding an object or staring at a character right before something important takes place. Some fans believe the writers use Maggie almost like a silent witness to Springfield's biggest secrets, as if she knows more about what's going on than anyone else, even though she never speaks. And let's not forget about the Flanders family. On the surface, Ned Flanders is just the overly cheerful, super religious neighbor. But over the years, little hints about his parents, his military background, and even his oddly close ties to Springfield's leaders have slipped through. There's an episode revealing that Ned was part of psychological experiments as a child, explaining why he's so relentlessly positive all the time. Another episode shows him as surprisingly wealthy, owning multiple properties around town. It's like the writers built an entire hidden history for Ned that contrasts with his goody-two-shoes exterior, and they've been dropping breadcrumbs about it for years. Even Mr. Burns, the obvious villain of the show, has strange connections that make you see him differently. We know he's Springfield's richest man, but every so often, we get hints that he's crossed paths with nearly every major character long before the main storylines take place. He's shown in flashbacks involving the Simpson family's ancestors, suggesting the Burns fortune has been tied to Springfield's history for generations. It almost feels like every character's life in this town has, in some way, been touched by Mr. Burns' shadow, whether they realize it or not. And when you start connecting all these dots, Hans Moleman's mysterious age, Skinner's double life, Krusty's resemblance to Homer, Maggie's silent presence, Ned's hidden past, Mr. Burns' reach, you begin to see Springfield differently. It's not just a random collection of characters living in the same town. It's a web of secret connections that the writers have been weaving for decades, leaving fans to wonder how deep it all really goes. There's one thing about The Simpsons that even people who've never watched a full episode know about: the predictions. Those moments when something happens on the show, everyone laughs, and then years later, it plays out in real life almost exactly the same way. It's become one of the biggest mysteries surrounding the series. How can a cartoon that started in 1989 keep getting the future right? Is it just dumb luck? Sharp satire? Or is there something bigger going on behind the scenes that nobody's talking about? Because when you start looking closely, the number of so-called coincidences starts feeling less like chance and more like the writers were leaving behind some kind of trail for us to follow. Take the most famous one, the Trump presidency. Back in the year 2000, long before reality TV had taken over politics, there was an episode called Bart to the Future. It was meant to be a silly, futuristic look at Bart and Lisa as adults. In one throwaway line, Lisa mentions that her predecessor in the White House was none other than President Donald Trump. At the time, people laughed. The idea was so ridiculous it felt like peak Simpsons humor. But fast forward 16 years, and suddenly there he was, standing on the steps of the White House, hand on the Bible, becoming the real-life president of the United States. The scene even included eerie similarities to the episode, like the escalator moment from his campaign announcement that looked almost identical to the animated version. That's when people started saying, wait a minute, how are they doing this? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Years before smartwatches were even a thing, The Simpsons showed characters talking into their wrists like it was the most normal thing in the world. They had video calls long before FaceTime existed, autocorrect fails before smartphones ruined all our texts, even hints at technology like farm-to-table food trends and Disney buying major media companies. Every time one of these things came true, the internet would light up with conspiracy theories. Are the writers time travelers? Do they have secret knowledge? Or are they just really good at reading the patterns of human behavior and taking wild guesses that end up being right because the world is so predictable? Here's where it gets even weirder. Some of the predictions aren't just about technology or politics, they're oddly specific. Like the time they showed a scene with the Shard building in London years before construction even began. Or the episode where Greece's economy collapses long before the real financial crisis happened. Then there's the eerily accurate prediction of the 2014 Ebola outbreak. In a 1997 episode, Marge tries to cheer up Bart by handing him a book titled Curious George and the Ebola Virus. People brushed it off back then, but after the outbreak hit, that screenshot spread online like wildfire. How could a comedy show keep nailing these real-world events so precisely? Some fans think the secret lies in the sheer number of episodes. After all, with more than 35 seasons and over 700 episodes, statistically speaking, a few random guesses were bound to hit the mark eventually. If you predict enough wild things, sooner or later, some of them will come true, right? That explanation makes sense. until you start noticing the level of detail in some of these so-called predictions. It's not just the broad strokes, it's the way the scenes play out almost exactly like real life. The visuals, the dialogue, even the timing, it all matches too closely to feel like pure coincidence. And then there's the possibility that The Simpsons doesn't predict the future so much as it shapes it. Think about it. The show has been part of pop culture for decades. Politicians, tech CEOs, celebrities, they all grew up watching it. What if some of them saw an idea on the show and consciously or unconsciously brought it to life later on? Maybe the writers weren't predicting anything at all. Maybe they were planting ideas in the minds of people who eventually had the power to make them real. Another theory floating around online is that the writers are just incredibly well informed. The Simpsons has always hired some of the smartest people and comedy writers with backgrounds in math, science, politics, and history. Maybe they simply understand the world better than most of us. They can see the patterns, the way things are heading, and turn that into jokes that feel outrageous in the moment, but realistic years later when the world catches up. It's like they have this ability to exaggerate reality just enough that when reality finally gets there, everyone assumes they predicted it. Whatever the reason, the predictive moments have become a huge part of The Simpsons' legacy. Fans now watch old episodes not just for laughs, but to look for hidden clues about what might happen next. Some people even claim the show predicted things like virtual reality headsets, the discovery of the Higgs boson particle, and the invention of autocorrect technology years before they happened. And whether you believe it's all just coincidence or something more, one thing is for sure, the writers of this show have turned predicting the future into an art form that keeps everyone guessing. One of the things that makes The Simpsons so legendary isn't just the humor or the characters or even the wild predictions. It's the layers of secrets and inside jokes that the creators have been tucking into the show since the very beginning. These aren't the obvious gags that make you laugh out loud. These are the little things only a handful of fans ever catch, the kind of Easter eggs and private jokes that reveal just how much thought and creativity goes into every frame of Springfield. It's like the writers and animators built a secret world running beneath the one we see on the surface. A world meant for the sharp-eyed viewers who love spotting the things everyone else misses. Take Matt Groening, the creator himself. Did you ever notice that the Simpsons family members all have initials that match his own? Homer, Marge, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. If you write out the first letters, you get HMBL and L. Here's the twist. Bart's name is actually an anagram for brat, which perfectly fits his troublemaking personality, and Lisa and Aggie. Groening once admitted their personalities were inspired by people in his own family. In fact, Homer and Marge were named after his real parents. So from the very start, there were real-life connections baked into the show that most fans never even realized. It's not just fiction. It's pieces of the creator's life disguised as a cartoon. And then there are the signatures the animators left behind. Back in the early days, everything was drawn by hand, frame by frame. Some of the artists would slip in their initials on random background signs, license plates, or even gravestones in the cemetery scenes. It wasn't in the script, it wasn't part of any big joke, just a little "I was here" moment for the people who worked long hours bringing Springfield to life. Years later, when the show switched to digital animation, fans started noticing these tiny marks disappearing, which makes the old ones feel even more like hidden treasures from a different era. One of the biggest inside jokes on the show is the character of Troy McClure, the washed-up actor who always introduced himself with lines like, "Hi, I'm Troy McClure, you may remember me from such films as..." The thing is, the character was voiced by Phil Hartman, a beloved cast member whose charm made Troy one of the funniest recurring characters. After Hartman's tragic death in 1998, the creators quietly retired Troy McClure from the series as a tribute to Hartman. No big announcement, no storyline to explain it, he was just gone, a subtle and respectful nod to the man behind the voice. It's the kind of detail that longtime fans recognize as one of the show's most heartfelt secrets. And let's talk about the couch gags. On the surface, they're just fun little variations in the opening sequence, right? But some of them hide references so specific that only hardcore movie buffs or art fans catch them. There's one that recreates the opening of Game of Thrones, another that mimics classic French art films, and even one designed entirely by Banksy, the mysterious street artist. That Banksy opening was especially dark, showing sweatshops and exploitation behind the scenes of the animation industry, a biting piece of satire snuck into the intro of a primetime cartoon. It was the creators letting another artist use their platform to deliver a message, hiding it inside a gag that millions of people saw but few fully understood. Another inside joke that keeps popping up is the number 9F. If you've ever paused the show during certain scenes, you might have seen codes like 7G, 3F, or 9F in the background, especially around the power plant. These aren't random. They actually refer to the production codes for different seasons and episodes. For example, episodes from season 4 all start with 9F in their production numbers. So slipping 9F into the background was the writer's way of leaving a little clue about when that episode was made. It's the kind of meta-humor that goes completely over most viewers' heads, but gives die-hard fans something to geek out over. Even the chalkboard gags in the opening credits carry secret messages. Sure, most of them are just funny lines like, "I will not burp in class," or "I will not bring sheep to school." But every so often, the writers slip in comments about real-world controversies, network executives, or even fan complaints about the show. It's like the chalkboard became their personal message board to the audience, letting them talk directly to viewers through Bart's detention punishment. And then there's the mysterious recurring character known as the yes guy, the one with the weird high-pitched yes voice. He shows up randomly, never gets a backstory, and seems to exist purely as an inside joke among the writers. Some fans believe he's based on an old-time Hollywood actor, while others think he's just there to mess with us, a human Easter egg whose entire purpose is to be unexplained forever. That's the beauty of The Simpsons. The more you look for answers, the more secrets you find, but the show never stops winking at you from behind the curtain, letting you know there's always another layer waiting to be discovered.